This is the local music revolution. 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 Hello and welcome to the Local Music Revolution. I am your host, Ogre. On today's episode, we have Cool Homer Jack. Yeah, his name's Ethan, but he has a project named Cool Homer Jack, which I think is a fantastic name. It's amazing. Back when I was trying to expand a little bit with the podcast, I posted in some Facebook groups, and Ethan was one of the first people to contact me from said groups. He was interested, but he was kind of a little, he wasn't completely sold, and understandably. I mean, I was new at doing this. And it was actually an episode of mine with Zion and Ruins that actually brought Ethan around, and he immediately contacted me, said that he heard the interview and that he wanted to be part of this podcast. So I was ecstatic. I mean, he's hearing it, he's understanding it, and he's enjoying it, and he wants to be part of it. I mean, I can't ask for more than that. So we set up the interview date, and we talked about his recording process, which is awesome. It's different than what I do. It's different than most of the people I talk to. But as you can hear, he makes really, really good sounding tracks with the way he has found works best for him. And that's what it's all about. Doing what you know, making it work by all means necessary. And that's what this guy's doing. I mean, it's incredible. We also talked about how he came up with the name Cool Homer Jack and how he started, but we also get into something that I didn't play on the show, which is his cover, his interpretation of Moonlight Sonata, which is really, really interesting. If you have the time, go to his links. I will link it in the description. Check it out because it is an amazing piece of music. More recently, Ethan has become a very good friend of mine and a huge fan of the podcast. I think of him as my Miramax because he refers me to so many other artists. Right now, there are 4 artists, I believe, that he has actually referred to me and that I've gotten interviews with. So I cannot thank him enough for his contributions. In addition to his contributions to the podcast in musical sense, Ethan has also contributed in a graphical sense. He has created 3 designs for the podcast store that will be on t-shirts and stickers and possibly a couple other things. It will be released with this podcast. The link is in the description. Please go check it out. Support Ethan, support the podcast. And remember to support local music. With all of this said, I also want to make the announcement that Ethan is starting to make his own t-shirts with his own designs. He's doing a GoFundMe, which, as always, will be linked in the description of this podcast. So you can go check out what he's doing. Go help him raise the money to actually get his shirt designs on t-shirts so you guys can wear them and support this guy. Before I get into this interview, I would like to take a moment to thank you for listening and continuing the support for the Local Music Revolution. This has steadily grown, and it's incredible to see what I'm doing is actually reaching people, and people are appreciating it. So thank you guys so very much for being part of it. I also want to thank Stringjoy, my official sponsor. They are an amazing guitar string company that sells guitar strings, acoustic strings, and bass strings. If you need any of those, go to stringjoy.com. You can get custom sets or you can get their predetermined sets. And if you go to the checkout, use the code LOCAL, that's LOCAL, at the checkout, and you'll get a discount for being one of my great listeners. You can connect with them on stringjoy.com and Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can also connect with this podcast at facebook.com/thelocalmusicrevolution, on Twitter at TLMR podcast, on Instagram at thelocalmusicrevolution. And as always, every single part of this podcast is run through WordPress. So go to thelocalmusicrevolution.wordpress.com to check out everything I have on the site. There's FAQs, there's contact information, there's sponsor pages, there is alumni pages, and there are all of the episodes in order and categorized. Now that that's out of the way, the main attraction, Ethan, aka Cool Homer Jack. And we're here with Ethan from Cool Homer Jack. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing good, man. How about you?
I'm doing well, man. I'm doing very, very good. It's very nice to talk to you, brother.
Same to you, man. Same to you.
All right, man. So before we get too far in, I usually ask about background history for bands, how they got together and everything. For you being that you're a solo artist, what led you to actually becoming a solo artist?
I would say just circumstance. I didn't necessarily plan for that to happen, but I guess that like I'm sure that a lot of people that do play on their own can relate to the fact that sometimes, in a band, you can definitely expand your sound and kind of bounce ideas off people and propel yourself from there. But sometimes working by yourself, you can you have a lot. I remember I listened to the last interview you did with Zion and Ruins, and you were talking about how you had a little more control as a solo artist to be able to to get your ideas out straight from your head without any sort of alteration or muddying anything up.
Yeah.
And I just like playing music, and I've been in bands before that sometimes just like ideas from other bands would trickle into my head, and I'm like, I'm gonna go do this,
Yeah.
So
you still there, brother?
Yeah, I'm still here. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I completely understand what you're talking about, man. For me, I never actually thought of myself as a big picture kind of guy. I just thought I was the idiot in the back that played the drums. And it wasn't until I built the home studio that I realized that I had a lot of like imagination with the whole band and music element. So I feel like having the home studio kind of opened me up to actually becoming a musician instead of kind of hindering me in just the one specific instrument.
Well, sure. Yeah. I totally agree with that.
So what was your first instrument?
Oh man, to be honest, what I first started playing on was a Casio keyboard that I still have. I got it. And it's from like 1988 or something crazy like that.
Nice.
But it's this old keyboard that I still use on occasion, just because I'm kind of attached to it. I got it as a gift for like my birthday or Christmas or something. It was so long ago. And that's really where I got started, just kind of messing around with that. And I didn't really know how to play and I can make stuff happen on a keyboard. I'm not like classically trained or anything, but that was the first thing I really started playing on was just this old beat up Casio keyboard that it worked for what it worked for.
That's awesome, man. Did you start writing pieces of music when you got that, or did you take time to learn a few chords and stumble your way into something awesome?
How it started was when I was a kid. I don't even know how old I was. I'm going to say like 10-ish. When I was around this age, I had a friend down the road. We'd hang out, and he had he's like a year or two younger than me, and he had a drum kit. He was learning how to play drums, and I had a keyboard. So and I still that's how tricked out I was back then. Even I took the time to figure out how to record on just an old boombox.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I would go down and we would jam out these songs where I would play the keyboard and just play like Yankee Doodle, and he would like jam out on his drums, and we would just make silly 10-year-old songs together. But I recorded them on like a boombox that I have. I think I still have the tape laying around somewhere. It's crazy.
Oh,
And
that's awesome.
I even took it and recorded it into the computer, so it's actually I actually have them MP3 files of these old 10-year-old songs that I did. It's pretty rad, dude. That's really, if I was to say one thing that I started out doing was in the garage, just playing on a Casio keyboard.
Yeah, man, the garage is where it all happens. You have to be in a garage to appreciate being a musician.
I think so.
You can't be cushy in an air-conditioned space or a heated space. You have to be like in the middle of winter trying to play your instrument because there's no other place to play it. And nobody knows. Yeah. Nobody actually knows the struggle until they've done that, and it's amazing. It's brutal, and it's just fun and amazing. I truly miss those times that I had in the garage.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, moving on. From there, when you got the Casio and you started recording, how did you transition from being in a band element into doing everything by yourself? Was it like culture shock at first?
It was difficult because I basically you really do everything yourself, and
Yeah.
the unfortunate thing is that when you take the time and you want to do everything on your own as far as recording and everything, I had no idea what I was doing. I had no clue, and I just started doing. I'm like, this is the only way that I'm gonna know how to do stuff, And I would ask questions people that I knew that played and did recording and stuff. But I really would just sit around and be on the computer years later with the guitar and like learning. I make a lot of my beats, like a lot of the drum patterns and stuff, on FL Studio. I still have FL Studio demo version 6 that I used.
Oh wow, nice.
It's insane. It's definitely something like there's a huge learning curve involved in it's like I said, I didn't know anything, man. Like I just went for it, and I still have recordings from back then, and they're awful. They're so bad. Especially where I would use, like, I have these old recordings where I had a mic in the middle of the room. I would play a drum pattern through the Casio keyboard and play on my, fake Strat that I had. That was my first guitar. And it just sounds terrible, and there's so much bass, and it's just like, it's crazy. So it's one of those things, like, because I didn't know what I was doing, and I didn't necessarily have the courage to necessarily go up and ask people, because back then I was a lot more intimidated by that, because I'm not any good. I kind of kept to myself and taught myself the things that got me to where I can make the sounds that I have now that I'm a lot more comfortable doing. So I have a lot of people that I can credit for helping me along the way. It's like the list goes on for helping me get to where I am. But as far as a culture shock, it's like being like, I wouldn't say a culture shock, but it's definitely tough. Definitely tough trying to do everything on your own.
Yeah, man, when I first got into it, I had no idea. I had been playing drums for 10 years, and I decided to build a recording studio in my second bedroom. So I got all the equipment, and I strapped on my guitar the first time, and I was like, what the hell do I do? And I learned how to plug everything in and make, the sound appear on the computer. But then after that, like, if you listen to the first record I released, it does not sound like anything good. I was stumbling my way through it, and I think that's I think that's the way you have to. You have to suck to actually become good at what you're doing. And
Yeah.
it's an amazing experience. It's kind of stressful, especially when you're doing, like you said, everything on your own. But it's such a good experience to have, and it really tests how much you really care about your music.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself, man. That's true, because like when you listen to it and you go, yeah, that totally sucks. I know that.
That sucks, but hey, I finished it.
Yeah, it's done, and now I can get better from there.
So when you finish a song, do you kind of pick it apart and figure out what you didn't like, so that the next time you kind of change those things and try to expand on becoming better with those things?
Oh yeah. Without a shadow of a doubt, yeah. I have the way that I'll do it is I'll get a song done, and I'll get it laid out, and I'll put it on. I'll go drive around, or I'll put the headphones in and like I will critique the shit out of my song over and over again. I'll just listen over and over again and be totally mesmerized by it, or be like, oh, I totally didn't. Like, oh, there's a buzz. Oh, there's the, But then, like you said, then you grow from it, and you realize, like, okay, I can figure out something to do to trick that out next time, so I don't goop it up.
Yeah, man. Starting with the release of my first CD, I started keeping like a tally of everything I didn't like, so that I could change it. Like, there was a drum sound I didn't like. I think it was a China on my first CD. Naturally, I have an electric drum set. It's like two buttons, and you have a different sound. So it was very, very easy to fix those kind of things. Now it's more trying to get it to sound bigger and sound radio worthy, is my biggest thing. What are the biggest What are the biggest problems that you've had recording the music you have?
That's a list. The first thing that comes to mind is, I would have to say, first thing that comes to mind is guitar tone, because I've noticed, believe it or not, like, oh, you probably can relate. A lot of people could probably relate to this, like. And that's why recording works a lot better in a studio and not in your bedroom so much. But you get your guitar tone, man, and like I've recorded like, in different rooms of the house, for instance, and you get a different sound if you're in a different room of the freaking house. Yeah, yeah. And you like I've done that. I've like gone through and recorded a whole song, and come back and be like, okay, that does not, like, it doesn't sound bad, but I'm like, I know that's totally not the sound that I want. So what do I do? I guess start from scratch and peak the levels and get them tweaked just the right way so that everything works out a little bit better. That's probably a good one to say, is like getting the tonality out of the songs. That would definitely be on the list.
You know what I've figured out, and it costs a little bit of money, but if you have the money, it's very, very worth it. It's actually the tools to reamp your guitars. Do you know what that is? Have you done that?
No, not familiar with that one.
Okay, so what it is you have an interface. If you plug your guitar directly into the interface, there's this clean, like, nasty sounding, sound. It's not ambient, it's just the sound of the guitar. What you can do is there's stuff that you can do that you can split your signal going from your guitar. You can split it going to your amp into your interface, so you have a dirty sound and a clean sound. And then if, like, say 3 days from now you don't like what's going on, there's a box that you can do that is a reamp box. It sends the signal from your interface to your amp so that you can play the song through your amp, and you can mic that amp in any room of your house or any place that you want or anything like that, and it's the same notes, it's the same performance, but you are, you've already played that. It's really interesting.
That sounds really intense.
It is. It's about $100 to get set up for that, but like I said, man, if you have the ability to do it, I highly recommend it, especially if you're a guitar player, because I know I'm a drummer and I constantly am trying to figure out if my tone is okay with the guitar. And it's annoying. Right. It's infuriating.
Yep.
Okay. All right, man. So can you tell me about the song "The Only Way"?
"The Only Way" is one of the first songs that I actually had just recently bought an iPad, and I pretty much wrote that in correlation to this guitar riff that I made, and it was one of the first songs that I used with the little just GarageBand, just the regular app that comes with it when you buy it.
Oh, nice.
And I really started digging. Like, I started playing some more clean kind of. I don't know exactly how to describe it, but I just basically, like, I sat down and I set the iPad up against my thigh. I had the guitar on my thigh, and I literally recorded. I have a Fender. It's a Squier, actually, the Squier guitar that I bought. And I just recorded it just straight from the guitar into the iPad. And that's where I got this. The sound that came out of it was just, like, unreal to me, because I wasn't expecting it to sound that good without plugging it in at all.
Yeah.
I was really impressed by that. So the song really, like, I started kind of gravitating more towards this clean, kind of like Disturbed kind of sound, not the band Disturbed, but just unsettling kind of sound that I was trying to go for, and that's what the end result was just like it's something I had already come up with / experimenting with the program to see what I could get out of it, and the sounds and the sound effects and all that stuff, and that's what came out of it, and I was really happy with it. So
nice, man. Well, this is "The Only Way." that was the only way. All right, Ethan, so we talked about you recording and everything. Can you describe what you're using to get your instruments into your recording program and how you get the sound to be the way you want it?
It's as simple as this. It's not anything complicated because I haven't gone the extra mile to get like anything fancy as far as like interfaces and stuff like that, which I have an intention to at some point, but my system is pretty tried and true, and it's worked for me pretty well up until this point. But it's literally just my guitar amp. I use a Fender. Oh shit, I can't remember what it is. It's a Fender amp. Okay. It's the XD Super Champ, I believe.
Oh, nice.
And I've had it for years, and it's probably like I haven't changed because it's just one of the best amps that I've ever had. Okay. But I use that, and I use the just line out with the big old input in the back, and I have a cord that I plug into the mic port in front of the laptop, and I've used it for over 10, it's been so long, I don't even know. There's this free program called Goldwave that I've been using.
Wow.
And I've been using Goldwave to record the sounds and mix the songs together. And I've just been using it for so long that I just try stuff to see what kind of sounds I get out of it and if I like the tonality that comes out of it. So a lot of the time what it is I'll program the drum loop through FL Studio, get it all set up, import it into Goldwave. I'll tweak the levels a little bit. I like to kind of jump up the treble a little bit. I like the higher end on the drums. And then the guitar, I'll just go through, I'll put some headphones on and record through the drum parts, mix it in at certain levels, certain volumes to see what the sound I get out of it is, and that's pretty much it. It's pretty like, I want to think of it, it's kind of old school because I don't use a lot of super fancy tricks. It's like, I feel like I'm using like, I don't know, I don't know how to describe it. It's the way I do it, I'm just comfortable with.
That's awesome, man. I started recording like you did in the garage with like a tape recorder.
Yeah.
And that was my first introduction. I was like, this is amazing. For me, I learned how to do all the recording on a program called Cool Edit Pro, which was actually bought out. And now if you've ever used it, it's Adobe Audition. It's okay. It's the same interface and everything like that. It's a really good program. But when I started to do this, I had bought an interface to record demos for the band I was in. And, it was just sitting there, so I decided to build the studio, and it came with Studio One, and I am enamored with Studio One. It's one of the best recording programs I've ever used. Honestly, if you ever want to upgrade, I highly recommend Studio One. It's amazing.
Cool.
But I also do the same thing. I have a Line 6 amp, and my line out goes straight into my interface, and that's how I record the guitars. I don't like the surprises that can come with being in a room, so that's the way I do it. And if I want reverb, I add the reverb in. To taste, not unexpected little bumps and clicks here.
Yeah, and there is, I don't know what it is, but I feel like there's something a little like we kind of mentioned it before. You may have mentioned it the other interview I listened to, that there's something more authentic and more genuine and more human about it when you record that way. Because I like a little bit more on the gritty sound, and that's the sound that I feel that I get out of some of the songs that I've recorded. Is it's a little bit more just on the I guess it's a little more gritty because it's just so direct. It's just bam, one chord into the computer.
Yeah, and are you actually using like an 1/8 inch to 1/4 inch adapter too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
one
that right there makes it even more gritty. That's awesome, dude. That is so cool. Oh, the ways to make music awesome, man. I love it. It's so subjective. It's amazing. All right, so you have I don't know, like a bunch of songs. It looks close to 20 or more songs on your Reverb Nation. Are you actually in works for another song, or maybe, or have you looked towards making an album or something like that?
You know, the album thing, the problem for me is I've thought about doing an album. I actually made a demo a couple months back with it has 3 songs on it. And the problem that I have with making an album is trying to figure out how to market it quickly because I like so many different songs and so many different styles of music, and that's what comes out of me. I mean, if anybody takes the time to go and if they took the time to listen to all 20 songs, they all have, there's a lot more that are heavy, but there's also quite a few that are a lot different and more. I have like weird electronic songs on there too.
Nice.
It's as far as like trying to make a full album. I don't doubt that I could do it, but it would have to be. I see it from mildly from a business standpoint, mildly from a marketing standpoint. That if I can't pick a genre to be in, then I can't sell myself.
Exactly.
So
I get you.
I have a hard time with that because like I like making all sorts of different songs, and I can't stick with just one, so I can't really figure out where to take myself from there. So, and as far as like a new song, I always have something in the back burner. I haven't really sat down to really write anything as of late. I do have a couple riffs in my head that are stuck in there that I've been meaning to get out, but yeah, nothing new at the moment, but that could change. That changes. Sometimes I'll just sit down and I can get a song, like if it just flows, which I know a lot of people can relate to. Sometimes you can write a song in 15 minutes. Sometimes it takes a year.
Yeah. That's those crazy bastards.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, it's spontaneous and it's weird. It's great about creation, but it's also one of those things, like, thankfully, at least in my situation, I'm not having anybody breathe down my neck because they need to make money off of me. So if I don't have any ideas, then, I'm just going to sit here and listen to music and try to get some ideas. I don't think I would be, I don't think I would be good in a signed band kind of area because, especially if I'm doing the whole thing by myself. If it was just drums, I could do it. I can stumble my way through a song very easily. But yeah, man, I completely understand what you're talking about. I personally love many genres of music. I'm getting into more and more. Specifically because of this podcast, I've actually opened myself up to a lot more. I didn't like ska. Well, I didn't know I liked ska until I talked to a couple of them. And those guys are really cool. The bands are really, really good. And I didn't know, but there was a song off of Tony Hawk that I just fell in love with that was a ska song, It's like things like that. And for me, I'm writing an album right now, and it's got, metal, thrash, but then there's these songs that I feel that they would be a great acoustic song. So the past 2 nights I've been working on acoustic versions of these songs.
Oh, that's awesome.
I mean, for me, I've always been a metalhead, and for me, metal is one of those genres you can jump rope with the line between mellow and heavy, and that's the way it should be.
I agree. I couldn't agree more with that. That's one thing, honestly, like I actually have been taking a music appreciation class at school, and we obviously went all the way back to the beginning of time till today. It's really fascinating because like we're kicking through like the 50s and the 60s, and I'm like finding all these bands that I'm like, oh my God, dude. Like, why? Like, I don't know why. I just never. It happened when it needed to for me, but it's like all of these bands all of a sudden are coming out of the woodwork, and I'm loving it. It's awesome. And then, actually, funny enough, the teacher proposed to me because apparently I was the only guy in the entire class of like 20 that liked metal. I don't know how that happened, but
What?
It was bogus.
Wow. Okay.
It was weird. But I went and she proposed to me. She didn't have any sort of material on metal. And she asked me, can you do the history of heavy metal?
Oh.
And I went, are you kidding me?
Oh.
That's awesome. I'm on it. I'm like totally going to do it. And then I sat back and I was like learning more than I was like, I didn't know about all this stuff back then. And like, then it kick-started. I was like, I've been jamming old school. I'm like listening to Iron Maiden and Judas Priest and just like, oh my God, what have I been missing this whole time? And it really makes you appreciate it, because when I researched metal for the purposes of educating myself, you realize how insanely diversified that genre by itself is.
It is, and it's so amazing. Yeah, it's incredible, and I have questions on this, but I need to tell you. Recently, I've actually been getting into, I'm not getting into, but back into Queen and Zeppelin. My wife just got like the greatest hits of the Beatles. I'm on this Alice Cooper kick that just will not stop. Yeah, I'm going back to the 70s-ish, 60s and 70s era. And, I'm finding out it's amazing too, man. It's incredible. Just the wealth of knowledge that these guys produced in such a short amount of time, it's unbelievable.
If you go back, you listen to the song "She's So Heavy" by the Beatles. That song is metal as shit.
Exactly.
That is such a metal song. When I listened to it, I was like, wow. That is heavy. I love it.
Another one that I found that is more metal than most is Stone Cold Crazy by Queen. If you listen to that, oh my God, they were metal as hell. And like, these are the guys that are singing Bohemian Rhapsody and Under Pressure and everything, but they're Stone Cold Crazy. That's just incredible. And it's heavy as hell. Like, I love the metal genre because of that. But I want to get back to this in the next segment, but for right now, can you tell me about the song Make Myself Bleed?
Make Myself Bleed is a song, honestly, the title obviously throws you off, but that has to do with, I'm actually a type 1 diabetic. And
oh wow,
that song is loosely about the fact that, it sucks living with a chronic illness, and I was pissed about it, so I wrote a song about it. And that version that's up there is a the millionth version that I had and that was that's the best one that came out, and I'm really happy with the tonality, and I've used that word 3 times now. You can go back and check. I'm really excited with the way that song turned out sound-wise, and I think the vocals are pretty tough, and I think it's just a really solid song. So that's what that song's about.
All right, man. This is Make Myself Bleed.
upon you. Separate all that you know. It is how we know we are alive. Make myself bleed. Make myself bleed.
And that was Make Myself Bleed. All right, Ethan, before we go any further, you talked about you had an assignment your teacher asked you to do about the history of metal. When you told me that, or when you stated that, questions started popping into my head. Mainly, how the hell did you start a project like that? Where did you start that?
I really started out as easy as anybody else would. I went to YouTube. And I actually, funny enough, if anybody, you yourself included, if anybody goes on YouTube and looks up, there's a series called Metal Evolution. And it starts from pre-metal and works its way all the way up to today with, there was a hidden episode too called Extreme Metal.
Oh, nice.
Which talks about, your death metal, black metal, all that good stuff. There was a lot of reading too. I went on, Wikipedia, which is another one everyone does. Went on Wikipedia and read up on, mainly if you get the opportunity to look up black metal, like original black metal, that stuff is intense, man.
Yeah.
That is some crazy shit right there.
Yeah.
That's really how I got started. And the thing is like metal as it is now and as it was like in the late 60s or early 70s when it was first starting. I mean, the way that it's conducted now, that's metal, but I'm sorry, I'm having some technical difficulties here. Heavy music, hard music has always been around. Just not in the way that it is now. I mean, you even look back to classical music, and there were people. But yeah, the idea of heavy music, that's always been around. That's always been a thing, even back to classical. So, but how it really got started was, a lot of it had to do with the advent of distortion. And that was thanks to the Kinks. If anybody knows who the Kinks are,
really,
that's what you want to look up. And I won't spoil it for you, but go look up the Kinks and how they started the whole distortion thing.
Oh, nice. All right, so throughout the metal information that you got, was there anything that you didn't know that was just incredibly surprising to you?
Incredibly surprising would definitely be the whole black metal thing.
By black metal, do you mean the whole church burning, murder and craziness that's going on?
Right. Yeah. Like tried and true black metal is pretty tough.
Yeah.
Like I am not knocking it whatsoever because there's some good black metal out there, but the dudes, I guess you could say the archetypes, if you will, of black metal back in the late 80s, early 90s, when they were getting things rolling, dude, those were tough dudes, man. They were killing each other and that's another story. If you get an opportunity to look up the band Mayhem, if you're familiar with Mayhem, go look up the way they started because it's insane.
There was, I don't remember what band it was, but there was a band where the guitarist or the vocalist committed suicide. And then I believe the guitarist actually took a picture of the scene and they used it as an album cover.
Yep, that's Mayhem. That's the one you're thinking of. Yep,
okay.
That's the one where the vocalist shot himself, left a note saying, "Sorry for the blood." And then because he felt as though black metal was becoming too commercialized, so he killed himself.
Wow.
The guitarist came in, took a picture of the guy, allegedly kept parts of his bone, like his skull, like fragments of his skull.
And gave him out, right? He gave him out to people he thought was worthy, right?
Yeah, exactly. He did that. And then later on, that guitarist, he ended up being killed by one of his bandmates. He got stabbed like 23 times. It was insane.
Yeah, and the guy that killed him he's out of jail right now, and his band that he does is called like Burzum or something like that.
Oh yeah, Burzum, yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, dude, I did light research on that, and I was just like, whoa, these guys are on a different level. I don't know if I can do that, but
that's pretty tough, man.
Yeah, that's brutal as hell. All right, man. So it was the black metal that got you. Was there anything that you found that wasn't something that you didn't know but wasn't all that surprising?
Let's see. Let me think. The thing, one of the things that really, really captivated me, something that was really interesting, was the subgenre of power metal. Power metal is like, it's pretty rad. Like, that really started with Dio and his whole style of writing and singing, and how he kind of took, D&D style lyrics and made things, kind of more mythical and like all just super rad stuff, like stuff that no one was really singing about. And that kind of catapulted over, and a lot of it's in Europe. And in Europe, they have all these like power metal festivals where they go, and it's like normal, like, no, I wouldn't say normal, but it's like traditional metal where you go and you wear your black band shirt and you mosh and you wear, you just get messed up and, you have a good time. Everyone in Europe, when they go to do these like power metal festivals, they go old school. They go like Viking, like they dress up in like fur and like freaking Viking helmets.
Oh, Renaissance, that kind of stuff.
Sorry?
Like Renaissance kind of attire and everything.
Yeah.
That's
exactly.
Amazing.
They go old school with it, and like all these just power metal. It's more, mythology and the Norse religions and stuff. Like it's I saw that, and I'm like, I was really captivated by it. I wasn't surprised by it, but I was like, man, that is super cool. Like I had no idea that there was that, little deviation in metal the way that it was, where it's like huge festivals of dudes eating giant drumsticks and stuff like that. It's so cool.
That you bring that up. One of my favorite, I guess it would be subgenres in metal, is they call it pagan metal.
Right.
Because like Amon Amarth, they talk about nothing but Viking mythology. I mean, every song that they do is about something from Viking mythology. And there's other bands, mainly one of my favorite is called Elvati, and they have the hurdy-gurdy, they have pipes and whistles, and they have the violin on top of like this really brutal metal music, and it's just the way they layer everything on top of each other is just incredible. It's one of my favorite things to hear because it's just so innovative, and it's a wonderful, wonderful band. If you have a chance to listen to them, I highly, highly recommend it.
Funny enough, one of my really good friends, one of my roommates that I lived with for years, was super into that style, like Amon Amarth and the other one I don't even know how to pronounce correctly, so I'm not going to try. But I used to listen to a lot of that because of him, and it's like never like anything I got super into, but I greatly appreciated it because I'm like, man, that's excellent musicianship to add all that in and make it work and still maintain the fact that you're a metal band.
Yeah, no kidding. It's incredible. I started playing because of Vinnie Paul in Pantera, and he taught me how to groove with the music and everything like that. But it wasn't until I found Elvati with all of the extra instruments coming into the metal that I realized that you can layer things over and add like different textures and elements and make it like even more incredible than just a metal song. So it's a great learning curve to have if you're metal and you want to do something different. Then it's great to have those kind of things in your music.
I agree entirely.
All right. On that note, can you tell me about the song "Holy Ground"?
Holy Ground is it's an entirely instrumental piece. It's like the first song, The Only Way, and Holy Ground is a song that means a little bit more to me because two of the opening riffs that I used for that song were I'm a sober guy. I don't drink or anything because it was just bad for me. It didn't do anything good for me, and I was actually in treatment. I spent 45 days in a place, and it was an inpatient, and one of the guys brought his guitar in and let me use his guitar while I was there, and I wrote the two riffs at the beginning, and they just kind of sat in my head, and I wrote it. I even tabbed it out while I was there. So
wow!
Keep track of it. So that song definitely has a feeling to it. It's probably my most, for myself, I'm still kind of blown away by it. I think it's a great piece. It's one of the first songs that I've ever written. If not the only song I've written as an instrumental from beginning to end that doesn't have any repetition. I don't go verse, chorus in that one. It's just a straight all the way through, and it flows just beautifully to me.
Nice,
and it means
man.
a lot. So that's what's up with that song.
All right, well, this is Holy Ground. And that was Holy Ground. All right, Ethan. So I've talked to you about this a few breaks and before we even started recording. You did Moonlight Sonata, and it's a very amazing classical song. Can you explain like what the ideology behind you taking that and making it your own was?
I've always wanted to sample something, like whether it be a piece or just whatever it may be, something that would be musical that I could just kind of mess with. That's really, I've always loved that song, and the way that started out was actually the first time I remember, I can recall hearing that song was I played Resident Evil.
Oh, nice.
The original one for PlayStation, and there's a part in there, and I feel sorry for saying this, but I never beat the game. but there is a part, and any gamer that has played that can vouch for me, is there's a part where you go through and you have to play that song to unlock a door or a key or something. I can't remember what it was.
Oh, nice.
But I remember hearing that song, and it just evoked that song is just so, it just presses right on your nerves. There's something about that song that just is amazing. And when I heard that, I've always loved that song. And then, like I mentioned earlier, I had the iPad that I just bought, and I was at work, working with my boss, and we decided we were going to listen to classical stuff. So why not? That sounds cool. I like classical stuff, so let's jam out on this. And we were listening to, I wish I could remember what the piece was, but we were listening to something, and I was like, I want to sample this, and I want to put drums to it, because I think that would sound really cool with, like, even just a kick snare. Like, that would sound tough. Like, I don't know what it is. I really want to do that. So eventually, I think it might have even been later that night, where I went home and I found the piece, and I had recorded it onto the iPad, and I just couldn't make it quite fit. It just wasn't working for me. So I was like, all right, what about Moonlight Sonata? So I pulled that up, and I ripped it off. I won't lie. I totally had my phone up on one of the versions on YouTube, and I took the first two chords, or whatever you would say it is, but I took the first part and just recorded it into the iPad and then looped it. So it's just the first part of the song, barely part of the first couple notes, and just expanded on it because, like I said, I love the song, and I wanted to add my own little spin on it, and it ended up probably being one of the better songs that I've done. So thank you to Beethoven for doing that, because I mean, I could have taken the time to probably learn how to play it, at least that first part, but I think that the sound coming out, the fact that I had it coming through my phone into the iPad, just gave, like I was talking earlier about the grittiness.
Yeah.
There was something about it that the audio, the dark, not dark, but the tone that came out of it was just really what it just made it for me. So
that's awesome, man. I cannot wait to hear that. As soon as I get off this interview, I swear I'm going to be listening to that because it's intriguing. I love that idea that you just, I want to do this, so I'm going to do this, you know? It's an incredible thing.
Honestly, that's a lot of what I'll do. It doesn't always, you know, I don't always reap the benefits of it, but most of the time I'm like, I want to do this, and I'll try it because why not? Why not try it? You know, give it a shot and see what happens. And it ended up being really cool this time. Sometimes it doesn't work that way, but in that case, it's just like, bam, here it is. It's awesome.
See, and that's something that I've seen many people missing is that whole, I guess it would be like the confidence in yourself, whether you make it or whether it's good or whether it's bad, or something like that, some people just stop with the idea and never try to pursue it. And it's a terrible thing to have, because I mean, so many people just lose out on such a great experience. I mean, you took 2 chords of Moonlight Sonata and you turned it into a song that you're proud of. I mean, it's incredible that you had the balls to do that, man. It's surprising, because I hear so much about people not following those kind of ideas.
Well, the thing is, given the fact, like, I keep going back to this, but I mentioned earlier that, I sobered up about a little over 2 years ago, and that changed my life dramatically to, a little life lesson for everybody, whether it's music or whatever, is it's a classic thing, is if you don't ask the question, the answer is always no. And you just have to go for it, because I spent way too much of my life being afraid of stuff,
Yeah.
Being afraid of being judged or ridiculed, or, here, listen to my song. Oh, well, it's good, but, like, I get that a lot, too, is, like, a lot of people, not that they're in the wrong, but people that would critique things in a way that were fellow musicians that would negatively influence what I was doing. And it wasn't their intention for that, but it was because I wasn't in a good spot for so long that it impacted the music I was doing as a result of it. And now it's like, you know what, you just got to go for it. And as long as you're 100% behind it and you have the conviction and the heart to push through, no one can ever take that away from you. They can say it sucks, but that's just their opinion, man.
Yeah. And the thing is, most of the time when people say this sucks, I found they're not the ones making the music. And, they have an opinion, but they're not the ones that put themselves on the line for that, 5 to 7 minutes that somebody's listening to what you've produced. I mean, it's a tragedy, really, that people do that. On that thing, you said that the fellow musicians had critiqued you and everything. I used to do that. People would ask me, and I'd give them what I didn't like. And then one day I realized, there may be a track that, not my forte, but there are elements in there that I really do enjoy. And, instead of going and breaking somebody down like that, maybe, I should tell them, hey, those drum tones were really, really fantastic. Like, you need to explain how you did it so that I can, become better. And, it's actually done very well for me, building those people up.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's the way when you get to the point where you're like, wait a minute, this isn't working. This isn't benefiting anybody. Let me flip this around and critique it, but in a way you can be beneficial and be like, all of this is good, this is awesome, but there's this thing. Here's just an idea. I don't think there's anything wrong with it, but like, here's this little thing to ponder,
Yeah, and I think you and I have a different opinion or a different view on that, because of we know exactly how much goes into writing a song. Just one song for us is so much more intense than in people that don't have a home studio or don't have the ability to record those songs. And you start realizing, people are actually putting their blood, sweat, and tears into these things like I'm doing. Maybe, maybe it's not okay for me to go and tear them down or say exactly what I don't like. Maybe I should just be like, bro, you fantastic work.
Yeah, because a lot of the time, I don't know if you get this, but there'll be a lot of times like, oh, you guys are really good. Like, no, dude, it's all me. Like, what? It's all you? Like, well, yeah, I don't, play the drums on it, but, I sit down and it takes me hours upon hours to get that to go. And, it's all me. And a lot of the time people are like, how do you do that? Like, it's a lot of effort. Like you said, there's a lot of time and energy and you get drained, man.
Yeah, man, I've had that more than once, and it's a funny reaction because people are like, "You do that?" I was like, "Yeah." Just so you know, I don't drink very much. I don't do drugs. I'm not out cheating on my wife. When I'm wanting to go do something, I'm in my studio working on music. That's how I am. I mean, that's what it is for me. I love music so much that I'd rather do that than most anything else.
I agree.
All right, man. So it's the hour mark for this interview. So before we get going, can you tell me and everyone else how to get to your music and hear what the awesome things you're doing?
That would be. I always like to give the three primaries, which are, just put in Cool Homer Jack in your Facebook search, because I got it on there. Reverb Nation as well. If anybody's familiar with Reverb Nation, it's just reverbnation.com/Cool Homer Jack, all one word. And the same thing with SoundCloud as well. SoundCloud's another good independent music site. I really like SoundCloud as well.
Yeah,
that works the same way. That's soundcloud.com/Cool Homer Jack.
All right, and before we get going, I forgot to ask you in the beginning, but how'd you come up with the name Cool Homer Jack?
That right there is a question I don't know how to answer. The reason being is, the best answer that I could give would be that goes back to when I was the little kid playing the Casio in the garage, because that was, we were kids, and if I remember correctly, we were all sitting around. It was me and my friend Daniel that played the drums, and we decided we needed to have names and I don't even think we had a band name, but we had names for ourselves. And Cool Homer Jack is what my 10-year-old brain came up with. And that's, bam. I was like, you know what? I'm going to use that. I don't even care. I think I like it. It's kind of dumb. It's dumb, but I like it. And I think that's all that matters.
I think it's more whimsical than anything, and that's what's awesome about it. I
like that word. I like that.
Yeah. I love the fact that it's, you're serious about your music and everything, but you're not serious about yourself so much that you can have an interesting name like that and be completely like, this is me, man. This is who I am. It's amazing. It really is.
Well, thanks, Ben.
All right, brother. Well, that concludes this interview. Thank you very much for taking the time to talk to me. I really enjoyed talking to you. I've found a lot of stuff out. I'm very interested in what you're doing. And please keep me in the loop for future reference, because I'd love to know when you got new music out.
You got it, man. I'll definitely stay in touch.
All right, brother. You have a good night, all right?
You too, man. Thanks again.
All right, brother. Later. And that was Mr. Cool Homer Jack. This guy is awesome. He's been so cool, so supportive of the podcast and everything that I'm trying to do. I cannot thank him enough, and I can't say enough good things about this guy. Plus, that cover of Moonlight Sonata is just incredible. You guys have to hear what this guy is doing. Please be on the lookout for more stuff from Ethan. It's going to be incredible what he's doing in the future. Please remember that you can go to the link in the description of this podcast and you can support Ethan in his GoFundMe account so that he can actually get these shirts designed and ready for you guys to wear. I'm always interested in what you guys have to say, so contact me on Facebook at facebook.com/thelocalmusicrevolution, Twitter at TLMR podcast, and on Instagram at thelocalmusicrevolution. Also, again, this podcast is run strictly on WordPress, so go to thelocalmusicrevolution.wordpress.com and you can have all of the information right there in front of you. Very easy to navigate, and everything you need to know about this podcast is there. This podcast is also on iTunes, Stitcher, and many, many, many podcast catchers. So go to the podcast section of iTunes, search The Local Music Revolution, and subscribe, rate, and comment this podcast. For all of you Android users, go download Stitcher. Once you've got signed up, look up The Local Music Revolution in the search engine. We will pop up. Subscribe and get all of the latest and previous episodes there on your Android phone. I can't do this without great support. Thank you so much to Stringjoy for supporting me and the podcast. Remember, stringjoy.com. Go check out their preset strings and their custom options. When you're done and at the checkout, enter the promo code LOCAL, that's LOCAL, and you would get a discount for being one of the Local Music Revolution's awesome listeners. And lastly, of course, I have to say this, I'm always looking for bands and companies and individuals that are helping these bands out. So please go to thelocalmusicrevolution.wordpress.com, and there is an interview sign-up sheet there. Please fill that out if you're interested in being on the show. Once I get that information, I'll be able to schedule you for an interview. Next week, I will have the one, the only Hate FX on the show. When I decided to do this show, I had a list of 3 bands that I wanted to, under any circumstances, get interviews with. One of them was Hate FX, and it was a pleasure to talk to these guys. I've known them since 2006. It's almost 10 years of knowing these guys and following the band. I have every single one of their releases, and I consider them really, really good friends. So you get to hear that. You get to hear crazy stories and how they write, and all of that greatness that is Hate FX. For now, this episode has ended. Thank you guys again so very much. You guys are awesome. Remember, take care and be good, everyone. This is the Local Music Revolution. The Local Music Revolution. The Local Music Revolution. 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 Local Music Revolution.